is your best example of a startup where messaging and authenticity was working very, very well?
Mm-hmm. A startup I worked for, actually, so Too Good To Go. That's been a long journey to get to the right point. Right? So when we started with Too Good To Go in Austria, we tried to do our best, as we always did. But in the beginning, it was hard. It was difficult to reach people. There was an Instagram account with 0 followers, or maybe 10.
Yeah, I'm very happy to have a new episode of the TEC-ONE podcast, stories about freelancers and solopreneurs. And today we have Andreas Koehazy from Austria, my home country. And he's also a solopreneur and also working online. And thank you very much that you take the time to make our podcast. And let us know a little bit more about you, about your story, and about your business. Please introduce yourself.
Yeah, so I'm Andreas. I work in marketing. So I do marketing consulting for impact startups, meaning startups in a social or environmental friendly workspace, and startups that do good to the planet. So I started as a Boy Scout, when I was 7 years old, and now I'm a scout. And I always tell the kids, you have to leave the world better than you found it. So that's what I want to do in my job and with the companies I work with and with the startups I work with.
Yeah. Well, when did you start this new business?
I started just a while ago, a few weeks ago. So it's really pretty new, very exciting. And yes.
Yeah, but you have experience, I think, before. You did your own business already before, as far as I have seen. But now it's a new business, right? Or you're at least very involved in startups and in innovation.
Yeah, and startup and innovation. Yeah, especially. So the last years I worked for a tech startup and in the food industry, and before that I was a food startup as well. So it's quite an interesting world to see how food and tech come together in the future as well. So there's a lot to do, and there's a lot we're going to see in the next years as well. So there are apps, there are logistics startups coming up, there are sales platforms for food online, and I think the days where we to the supermarket to buy our stuff, they won't last forever.
So you were involved in innovation in startups very much, but this is now your first really own startup, right? And so it's very exciting. But you know how to build startups, right? Because you have seen it, you were involved very much, but it's a very new startup, so it's the right time to discuss it. So what is the most important advice for your own, but also for our people, our audience who is listening to this podcast? What is the most important advice for new startups? So what will you work now? What will you work on? What is the first step you will do?
So actually, I think there's one important step that helps you go beyond 99% of everyone, and that is start doing something, even though it might not be the best idea, but if you do one step, everything else will follow. And it's in 6 months, you'll see that what you did 6 months before was maybe not good, was pretty bad, was horrible, but still that's a sign of moving on, right? So it's good to see in the future how messy you worked in the past, or how your quality improves over time. So if you start doing, I think that's the best you can do.
Great. So the most important advice is start doing. You have seen that very often. I guess you have a lot of experiences, good and bad experiences with startup. But based on your experience, what will you do now? What is your first step? Please speak to the audience. Maybe you need also people that help you. So you have now an audience and can ask for help. Or what is your next step? What are your plans?
One thing I'm doing is consulting, right? So I help startups and also solopreneurs to find the right audience, to play with the messaging, and to find the right channels to send the right message to the people out there. And on the other side, I want to build a community within the impact startup world. So I think there is, on the one hand, startups are always about competition, but competition is what happens on the very low side, on the downside, but on the top, the best people, they cooperate. So I want to bring all those people together and have a lot of interaction and just talk. I think people just don't talk enough.
Yeah, that's true. I also see that in my own TEC-ONE community. And of course, I'm not focused on sustainability business and impact businesses. That this is your main experience. So what is your channel? Is it LinkedIn? Is it podcast? Is it YouTube? Will you have meetings, Zoom meetings? So if people are in the impact business, I guess all over the world, right? Or mainly in the German-speaking countries. So you need to let us know that. But if people working in that field and need support, what should they do? How can they reach out to you?
Best reach out on LinkedIn. That's my main channel. But there will be more. There will be a high quality newsletter hopefully soon, which you can subscribe to. If you follow on LinkedIn, you can see that. The podcast as well. I think so. What I enjoy most in my time I have is getting content that helps me as a marketer, as an entrepreneur, as a private person, just me. So I want to give quality content to the people out there through LinkedIn. That will be the channel.
Okay, so the people can reach out on LinkedIn to you, and they will get the support based on what helps you most. So you have experienced a lot in the past, and now you will write content for yourself. And because it helps yourself, it will also help other people. This is the idea, right?
Exactly. So there will be a lot about, as I said, a lot about marketing, a lot about how you can do, how you can make marketing more efficient. Because as you know, I work in sustainability, and the worst thing you can do in marketing and sustainability is bad ads, bad marketing. So ads already cost a lot of emissions and resources. So if it's not efficient, it's just wasted. And everyone wants environmentally, but also economically, right? High quality ads and the most efficient way to reach the target audience.
So if you have a bad message, you waste a lot of time, resources, and not only money, but a lot of resources, right?
Yeah, either a bad message, right? Or not a message that doesn't work that well, or the wrong audience for your message. So adjusting the ads the right way, or not only ads, but also content, or you do online, adjusting that to your startup, to your needs, to your service or product, will make it more sustainable on many ways.
Yeah, this is actually what I see most. There are people out there, they have a great message, they write great content, but then they have the problem that the audience who needs that message is not seeing that, right? So the message and the content creator and the audience does not meet. out there. And I think this is the most important thing, and it's good that you explained it and you are there, because the message, the content creator, and the audience need to meet. So how can this happen?
Sorry, what was the question?
So how can the message and the audience meet? Because I see good message, good content out there. I see audiences who need that content, but very often they don't meet, right? So how can this happen?
I think this needs a lot of thinking work, and most startups need, or the problem I see in startups is that they want to go on and on and on, but sometimes you have to go 3 steps back and redefine your audience. Who actually is the people you want to reach? Who is the customer? There is a really cool hack from Amazon. So Amazon, you can say a lot about them, but this is really an interesting one. They put a chair in the meeting room that is never occupied. So there's an empty chair in every meeting, and that is left for the customer. So every time they meet, they think about the person that is not the invisible customer sitting on that chair, and adjust all of their strategies to that customer.
Yeah. So it's about coaching and mentoring the client. We always want to speak also about coaching and mentoring. So what is your experience with coaching and mentoring? And what about coaching the client, the customer? This would be maybe a new idea. What do you think?
Yeah, coaching the customers to buy your products. Yeah.
No, to solve their problems, right? I mean, this is what we think about very much in startups. We are not selling products and services. We are selling value propositions, right? So we want to solve a problem. So actually, it's about coaching and helping our clients, right? So this is actually doing business.
Well, and there's a really cool example from Lego. Maybe you know about Lego. So Lego is a children's brand, right? So they they make the building blocks, and we all had Lego in our childhood. But now something interesting happens, because they saw that children magically grow up. So, and they're still in love with Lego. They would buy it for their children. But now they launched the new series with Lego for adults.
Mm-hmm.
Same product, the same technique, the same guides they use, but the customer has changed and the messaging has changed. So you can see you can adapt your messaging according to your needs, and that even opens markets sometimes. And as far as I know, Lego is pretty successful with that one.
Yeah. So it's a lifetime connection, and a lifetime connection. So that's very good. Yeah. So what is your experience with coaching? Did you meet good coaches? What is your own experience? Maybe you have been a mentor already. So what is the main advice for coaches? And if you search a coach as a startup, what is your main advice?
I think a mistake I've also done already is I try to be someone else. So I see those coaches out there, really cool ones, speaking great TED Talks, or even personally, I've met people who really coach me well. But you have to know that you cannot repeat that the same way, because everyone is a special individual. So stay authentic, stay true to yourself, and just go with that one. Trust that you know your stuff. So I think people want to be coached by authentic coaches.
Yeah, it's again about messaging, right? So how to build your message, how to communicate. So everything, even coaching, is about building a message and communication.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
So but what is, maybe we talked about messaging and you wanted to work about marketing and messaging, but what is maybe, I mean, also authenticity we talked about, but what is, or maybe explain us or tell us one of your best examples you have seen in coaching and mentoring and building a message. So you talked about Amazon, about Lego. This is more about products and shipping and the big examples. So, but from your startup experience, what is your best example of a startup where messaging and authenticity was working very, very well?
Mm-hmm. A startup I worked for, actually, so Too Good To Go. That's been a long journey to get to the right point. Right? So when we started with Too Good To Go in Austria, we tried to do our best, as we always did. But in the beginning, it was hard. It was difficult to reach people. There was an Instagram account with 0 followers, or maybe 10. My mom was one of them. And there was, other marketing channels like Facebook. Nobody knew about TikTok back then. And we had people who worked in the company, and that was it. That was our reach. And in the beginning, we tried to inform everyone and sell a product. Wanted to, we wanted to say what it is. We wanted to serve the solution, all right. But in the end, ultimately, that was not the right way to go, because the right way to go was we actually sold ideas. We refreshed the Instagram account with a lot of recipes and ideas how to cook at home, how not to waste food at home, or ideas about, in summertime you go out for picnics, save a meal. And so it's not about telling people what Too Good To Go is and that you can save food, but rather inspire them to try to not waste food in any situation of their life. Every time they would have food in the kitchen, they would think, okay, is that, can I do something out of that? Can I make a different meal for me? So that was all about inspiring.
So it's about inspiration. Yeah, it's not only the message, it's not only authenticity, it's also the inspiration. I think this is very important also in coaching. You feel it.
Yeah, exactly. I just wanted to say that's the same thing when you coach someone. You can serve the solution, it will bring them only just a bit further. But if you try to inspire people, they will find the right solution for them, because they know best. They know their startup best or their company best. You from outside, you can never know all of the details. So connecting the dots, having the other person connecting the dots is the right way to go, and that works with inspiration.
Yeah, great. Last question, what about online working? So it changed a lot in the last couple of years. We work much more online. We build online communities. What is your experience with working online and what changed?
I always switch between I love it and I hate it. I think I'm kind of a social person, so I love being around people. But I figured out that I can have both sides. I can work at home alone and concentrate very hard on my work. And then I can take separate active time to meet people. And that's great. So I can actually block some time that is for meeting people. And it's great fun because it's not always in between. It doesn't interfere. And I think you have to get used to it. But that's, for me, a way that works really well.
Great. Yeah, thank you very much, Andreas. It was great having you. And it was, again, about building communities and at the same time working as a solopreneur. If you're out there and if you also know great stories, please send it to me. Then we will have new interesting podcasts. If you're yourself somebody who is a solopreneur and wants to share your story here in my podcast, please reach out to me. So please subscribe, reach out to us on LinkedIn, to Andreas and to myself. And let's build communities and connect with each other as solopreneurs and learn from each other.